Hi everyone. Tonight we're diving into something that might just save your life, or at the very least, protect your mind for years to come. Picture this: the early morning light is slipping through the blinds. Your bedroom is still holding onto the coolness of the night, and you slowly open your eyes. Then, like clockwork, you jump out of bed. That one move might be quietly sabotaging your brain. See, when you first wake up, your body is in recovery mode. Your heart rate is low, blood pressure is down, and your brain is still slowly rebooting. But when you shoot out of bed like someone hit a fire alarm, your body isn't ready. And if you're over 60, that kind of jolt could increase your risk of a stroke without warning. I once had a patient, Carl, 65, healthy, daily walker, pretty sharp guy. One afternoon, he woke up from a nap, stood up fast, and dropped to the floor. No pain, no warning, just like that. His mind blanked. He couldn't remember his wife's name for nearly 10 minutes. It turned out to be a transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke. A few minutes of confusion. But it could have been so much worse. This happens because of something called orthostatic hypotension, a fancy way of saying your blood pressure drops too quickly when you change position. Less blood means less oxygen going to your brain. And if your arteries are already narrow from aging, that drop becomes dangerous. Here's what I do instead. I wake up, blink a few times, and just lie still. I stretch my toes, rotate my wrists, then sit up, slowly. I give myself about 90 seconds before standing. Sometimes I joke that I'm rebooting my system, like Windows 98 on dial-up. You'd be shocked how much of a difference just one calm minute can make. But we humans? We hate to wait. I always say, if someone can't wait for a kettle to boil, they're the same person who jumps up the second their eyes open. And here's a weird little fact. Did you know even imagining yourself getting up quickly can trigger subtle shifts in blood pressure? Yep, your brain responds to the thought, not just the action. That's why I've started visualizing myself rising like a Roman emperor. I call it the royal wake up. If you're someone living with high blood pressure, diabetes, or any kind of vascular issue, this isn't just a nice idea, it's survival. Your brain is not a light switch. It's more like a symphony orchestra tuning up. Let it ease into the day. Now, I'll admit, I've had my off days too. One morning, I leapt out of bed after remembering I forgot to pay the gas bill. Guess what happened? No stroke, thank goodness. But I lost balance, hit the doorframe, and had a solid lump on my forehead to think about all day. There's been some debate in the medical world about whether orthostatic hypotension really contributes to stroke. But newer studies, large-scale, peer-reviewed, have confirmed the link. Especially in older adults, that quick change in pressure is a red flag we can't afford to ignore. So yeah, you might be thinking, really? Just changing the way I wake up, is that important? Absolutely. You don't reboot your computer by throwing it off the table, do you? Same logic applies to your body. Treat your mornings like a sacred transition. Open your eyes. Notice your pillow under your head, the blanket wrapped around your legs, the quiet hum of life outside your window. Life begins with a heartbeat. Don't knock yours out of rhythm before you even brush your teeth. Let me tell you what happens next, because while most people rush out of bed, the very next thing they forget can be just as dangerous. Water. I know, it sounds ridiculous, right? But not drinking water first thing in the morning is like trying to start a car with no oil. Your brain is about 75% water. And after 7 or 8 hours of sleep with no fluids, it's dehydrated, not parched, not thirsty, dehydrated. Think of your blood as a river. When there's enough water, it flows easily, gently carrying nutrients and oxygen to every corner of your brain. But when you're dry, that river gets sluggish. The blood thickens. Your heart has to work harder. And your brain? It starts to struggle. Let me paint a picture. You're standing in the kitchen, pouring coffee, maybe half listening to the news, scrolling through your phone. Meanwhile, your brain is basically sitting there like, hey buddy, could I get some water before you throw jet fuel in here? But instead, what does it get? Caffeine, acidity, maybe sugar, and absolutely zero hydration. This was one of the first things I changed in my routine years ago. I used to go straight for coffee, 2 cups. Minimal breakfast. And I'd wonder why I felt foggy by 10 a.m. until I learned this. Dehydration increases stroke risk. Especially in seniors. It reduces the volume of plasma in your blood, which makes it harder for the heart to pump. That creates pressure in the vessels, particularly the small, delicate ones in the brain. You ever feel slightly off balance in the morning? Not dizzy, exactly, but like your brain is wearing a too tight hat? That's dehydration, and it's your warning shot. I once read about a retired schoolteacher named Linda who had always been health conscious. She walked daily, ate her veggies, took her vitamins, but she never drank water in the morning, just tea. One day, she fainted while putting on her slippers. It turned out her blood pressure had spiked due to thickened blood from dehydration, and it triggered a TIA. A mini stroke. Want to hear something strange? A 2015 observational study found that many strokes occur in the morning. Not just because of blood pressure spikes, but because people are still in a state of low hydration. So that foggy-headed moment you brush off while brushing your teeth? It might be more than just not being a morning person. And get this, if you're on medications like diuretics, which help your body eliminate salt and water, then your hydration status is even more fragile. Every bathroom trip you made last night? That's fluid lost. By the time morning rolls around, you're basically running on fumes. Here's what I do now. I keep a glass of room temperature water on my nightstand. Not cold, not with lemon, just plain, simple water. The first thing I do, before my feet even touch the floor, is drink it. My brain, my heart, my blood, all say thank you. And yes, I know the argument, but I'm not thirsty in the morning. Let me answer that with a metaphor. You don't wait for your phone to die completely before charging it. Do you? Same principle. Hydrate before you need it. Thirst is already a late signal. In academic circles, there's an ongoing discussion about how even mild dehydration affects cognitive function. Some say it's overblown, others say it's underestimated, but what's not debated is this: your brain performs better when properly hydrated. Reaction times are quicker, memory recall is sharper, even your mood improves. Oh, and fun fact, during sleep, your body loses water through breathing. Yep, every breath you take at night, tiny amounts of moisture leave your body. If you breathe through your mouth, it's even worse. It's like slow motion evaporation. So what can you do? It's simple. Make morning hydration non-negotiable. Treat it like your brain's first breakfast. Before coffee, before news, before anything else, just drink the water. Your brain is quietly begging for it. I tell my patients this all the time. Don't treat hydration like a wellness trend. Treat it like oxygen, because at the end of the day, it's not about how much water you drink at noon, it's what you give your brain when it's at its most vulnerable. Right when you wake up. No expensive supplements, no gimmicks, just a glass of water. It might be the easiest life-saving habit you ever start. So now you've made it out of bed the smart way. Hydrated like a champion, and you're probably thinking, hey, I'm doing all right. But then, breakfast. Ah yes, the most important meal of the day. Or so we've been told. But here's the catch, for a lot of people, especially folks over 60, breakfast can be a silent stroke trap. And it all comes down to one ingredient, salt. Let's talk sodium, that beautiful flaky crystal that makes food taste like heaven and your arteries feel like hell. You'd be surprised how much of it is hiding in your morning routine. Think your oatmeal is healthy? Not if it came from a flavored packet. That turkey sausage? Packed with sodium, toast with butter? Don't even get me started. I had a neighbor, George. Sweet guy, ex-military, lived alone. He used to make this breakfast every morning: 2 slices of wheat toast, scrambled eggs with shredded cheddar, and 3 turkey sausages. Sounded reasonable, even healthy, until I had him tally up the sodium, 1.050 milligrams. Before 9 a.m. That's nearly half the daily recommended limit in one meal. For someone over 60, that kind of spike first thing in the morning can push blood pressure into the danger zone. And if your arteries are already stiff or narrow, that pressure can rupture a vessel in your brain. Boom, stroke. Here's where it gets sneaky. Salt doesn't taste like what you think it does. In processed foods, it's used more for preservation than flavor. That healthy, whole grain bread could have 200 milligrams per slice. Store-bought egg whites? Salted. Low-fat cheese? Still salty. Even heart-healthy cereals are often swimming in sodium disguised by a sweet taste. And then there's this tricky little fact. Your body is naturally primed to spike blood pressure in the morning as part of your circadian rhythm. That's right, your biology is already working against you before you even open the fridge. Add a salty breakfast on top of that, and you've got yourself a perfect storm brewing in your bloodstream. Now let me add a little spice of weirdness here. There's actually a condition known as morning surge hypertension, a phenomenon where blood pressure shoots up significantly during the first few hours after waking. Doctors have been arguing for years about whether it's more dangerous than regular hypertension. But recent data suggests that stroke risk increases substantially during this period if it's not managed. That means your breakfast isn't just food, it's medicine. Or poison, depending on what you choose. I know, you're thinking, what am I supposed to eat? Cardboard? Not quite. There are ways to eat well without sabotaging your arteries. Here's what I do most mornings. Half an avocado on whole grain toast, check that sodium label. A hard-boiled egg, and a handful of blueberries. Low salt, high fiber, heart-friendly fats, and antioxidants. And yes, it tastes amazing. You could also do plain oatmeal with a touch of cinnamon and banana slices. Or Greek yogurt with chia seeds and fresh berries. The key is this: if it came from a package with a long shelf life, it probably has too much salt. One of my patients actually started sending me photos of his breakfasts every morning. We'd play Spot the Sodium. It became a running joke. His favorite was a granola bar he thought was healthy until we discovered it had more sodium than a bag of chips. He now refers to it as the breakfast betrayal. And listen, I'm not saying never eat bacon again. But maybe don't make it your morning anthem 5 days a week. It's like playing Russian roulette with your brain's blood vessels. The worst part? Stroke often doesn't give you a warning. It doesn't say, "Hey, George, cool it with the cheddar." It just arrives, loud and irreversible. Oh, and here's a quirky tidbit. Salt cravings are sometimes psychological, not biological. A 2018 behavioral study showed that people often crave salty foods in the morning because their bodies associate it with energy. But what your body's really asking for is hydration, protein, and steady fuel. Salt is just the shortcut your taste buds learned from habit. So let's retrain them, because every time you swap that salted sausage for fresh fruit or unsalted nuts, you're not just being good, you're being strategic. You're giving your brain a fighting chance. Remember, stroke prevention isn't just about what you don't do. It's also about the quiet, daily wins. And breakfast? That's your first battleground of the day. So now you're feeling good, you woke up slowly, hydrated, dodged the sodium landmine. But then, here comes the coffee. Ah yes, the morning miracle. For many of us, it's not even a choice, it's a sacred ritual. That first inhale of roasted warmth. The steam swirling like a cozy spell. I mean, let's be honest, coffee is basically a legal form of sorcery. But like any magic, it comes with rules. Here's where it gets tricky. Coffee on an empty stomach, especially first thing in the morning, can quietly send your body into overdrive. Not the productive kind either, the "let's give this old heart a workout it didn't ask for" kind. You see, caffeine triggers the release of adrenaline, your fight or flight hormone. Great if you're being chased by a bear. Not so great if your arteries are already tense and your heart is still easing into the day. It increases heart rate, constricts blood vessels, and spikes blood pressure. And if your first sips of the day are coffee, before food, before water, before anything else, your brain takes a hit. This isn't just theory. I've had patients who were doing everything right, exercising, eating greens, even meditating, but they'd drink 2 cups of black coffee at 6:30 a.m. on an empty stomach. One day, one of them, a retired contractor named Mel, fainted at the post office. No warning, just crumpled like a paper bag. Turned out it was a cardiac arrhythmia triggered by, excessive caffeine without food. Now, don't panic. I'm not coming for your coffee. I'm coming for when and how you drink it. The ideal move? Eat first, even if it's just a slice of toast or a handful of almonds. Food gives your digestive system a buffer to absorb caffeine gradually. Otherwise, Coffee hits your bloodstream like a rocket, and not the fun kind. Let's get nerdy for a second. Studies show that drinking caffeine without food can lead to gastric acid spikes, which not only irritate your stomach lining but can also cause nausea, jitteriness, and even lightheadedness. Add that to age-related changes in digestion, and it becomes a bad mix. Literally. And here's the weird part. Some people get caffeine crashes, not because they had too little sleep, but because their bodies are trying to clean up the chemical chaos from drinking coffee the wrong way. It's like waking your body up with a scream instead of a soft nudge. You ever notice how your hands shake a little after too much coffee? Or your heart thumps in your chest like it's trying to break out? That's not energy. That's your nervous system throwing a fit. But there's an ongoing debate in the medical world about this. Some experts argue that moderate caffeine consumption has neuroprotective benefits, which is true in some contexts. Coffee is rich in antioxidants and linked to lower risk of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's in some studies. But here's the catch. These benefits disappear when caffeine is taken in excess or on an empty stomach in vulnerable individuals, like seniors or people with heart disease. So yes, coffee can be your friend. But like any friend, it needs boundaries. Here's what I do now. I hydrate first, full glass of water. Then I eat a small breakfast, toast with peanut butter, Greek yogurt, or sometimes a banana with chia seeds. Only after that do I reach for my coffee. And when I do, I stick to one moderate cup. No double-shot caramel rocket fuel with whipped cream and syrup. Just a clean, mindful cup of coffee. Also, watch the sugar and creamer. That innocent splash of vanilla creamer? It's often loaded with artificial sweeteners, hydrogenated oils, and ingredients you can't pronounce, all of which contribute to inflammation, which in turn increases stroke risk. Let me tell you about this one delightful oddity. There's a village in Sardinia, Italy, home to some of the longest living people in the world. Know what they drink in the morning? Black coffee, after a small breakfast. And they don't gulp it down on the go, they sip it slowly while talking with family. Coincidence? Maybe, but I'd rather learn from centenarians than from energy drink commercials. So, the next time you reach for that mug as your eyes are still adjusting to the light, pause. Ask yourself, have I earned this cup? Did I give my body what it needs first? Because your brain deserves better than caffeine chaos. It deserves a calm awakening. A little fuel before fire. And if you ever feel like you need more coffee just to function, it might be your body's way of saying something else is off. Not enough sleep, not enough water, maybe too much salt the night before. Coffee should be the accessory to your energy, not the whole outfit. Let me ask you something. Have you ever gotten out of bed, made your way to the kitchen, and felt off? Not, I didn't sleep enough, tired. I mean off. Your balance is weird. The floor feels farther away than usual. Maybe your hand feels a little weak. Maybe you blink and for a second, you're not sure what day it is. Most people brush it off. Oh, I just need coffee. Or, that's what happens when you get older. Right? But here's the thing, it might not be just fatigue. It might be your brain begging for attention. A surprising number of seniors experience morning dizziness or weakness. And yes, sometimes it's harmless, but other times, it's not. It's something called a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. That's a mini-stroke, and I hate that term, by the way. Because there's nothing mini about it. It's a full-blown stroke rehearsal. I remember a woman named Eileen. Lovely, sharp as a tack, mid-70s. She told me she'd been waking up with one arm that felt asleep, and a little droopy mouth. But it went away after breakfast. So she figured it was nothing. Until the day it didn't go away. She had a full stroke while watering her plants. And it started with those nothing symptoms she ignored for a month. Here's what's tricky, TIAs often last only a few minutes. Maybe an hour. Then everything feels fine again. But they're like the check engine light on your dashboard. Ignore them, and you're gambling with your brain. Why do they often hit in the morning? That's still debated. Some say it's because blood pressure naturally rises in those early hours. Others point to dehydration, or the body's shift from rest to motion. But the end result is the same. Your brain might not be getting the oxygen it needs right when it wakes up. Now, here's a quirky fact for you. Did you know some strokes can affect your speech or coordination before your face? There's a test called FAST, face, arm, speech, time, but it's not foolproof. In older adults, a mini stroke might show up as clumsiness, sudden confusion, or even just feeling like your body is not your own. One man told me it felt like his left leg was wearing a different brand of gravity. That's the kind of thing we laugh about in the moment, but it's your brain trying to whisper, "Hey, I'm struggling here." There's also an odd bit of science that's been gaining attention. Some neurologists believe morning teas could be linked to platelet activity. Basically, your blood is stickier in the morning, which makes it easier for a tiny clot to get stuck somewhere in your brain, blocking off blood flow just long enough to do damage. What can you do? First, stop dismissing weird sensations. If something feels off, document it, write it down, track it, and if it happens again, call someone. Call your doctor, call your kid, call your dog's vet if that's who you trust. Just don't pretend it didn't happen. This is where I shamelessly remind you that journaling your symptoms, yes, even the weird ones, is one of the best ways to prevent a full-blown medical emergency. That's why some folks use apps or a notebook by the bed. One of my older patients uses his toaster to remind him. He puts a sticky note on it every night. Did anything feel weird this morning? Genius. Second, have someone check your blood pressure in the morning if you're prone to symptoms. You'd be amazed how many people walk around with readings like 180/110ths and think that slight dizziness is just being sleepy. Let me be very clear, if you ever wake up and something doesn't feel right, face drooping, arm weak, speech slurred, or balance off, even slightly, do not wait. That "maybe it'll go away" mindset has put more people in rehab than I care to count. You'd rather feel silly going to the doctor for nothing than regret not going for something. And here's one more little academic curveball. There's debate about whether frequent teas cause long-term damage. Some studies suggest they don't, but others show a link between multiple mini-strokes and eventual vascular dementia. So even if your brain bounces back, it may be collecting damage under the surface, like a car that's been in 3 fender benders and still looks fine, until it doesn't. So, let's recap. Morning dizziness? Not always just sleepiness. Weakness or weird sensations? Not just getting older. You're not being dramatic. You're being cautious. And in this case, caution is survival. You don't have to live in fear. But you do have to listen. Your body whispers before it screams. Learn to hear the whispers. That's how you stay ahead of the storm. Let me tell you something most people don't like to admit. Medications only work if you take them right. I know, obvious, right? But you'd be stunned how many folks, especially seniors, skip, double dose, or mix up their morning meds. And that little mistake? It can be just as dangerous as skipping water or eating a salt bomb for breakfast. Every time I talk to a new patient, I ask, "Are you taking your medications regularly?" They almost always say yes. Then I follow up, "Same time every day? With food or water? What happens if you miss a dose?" And suddenly, the answers start to get fuzzy. Here's the thing, stroke prevention medications are time-sensitive. Blood pressure pills, statins, blood thinners, they're designed to be taken consistently. Not whenever you remember. Your body has a rhythm. These meds work best when you stay in tune with it. Let me give you an example. Mr. Langston, retired mailman, proud grandfather, known for his sweet tooth and impeccable lawn. He took a blood thinner every morning, or at least, he thought he did. One morning, his pill organizer was empty. So he figured, I'll double up tomorrow. That same day, he suffered a stroke. Was it preventable? Maybe, but that skipped dose may have left his brain vulnerable, even for just a few hours. Here's why it matters. Mornings are prime time for strokes. Your blood pressure rises naturally after you wake up. If you skip your morning meds, or take them incorrectly, that protection drops just when you need it most. And don't even get me started on people who take pills with coffee instead of water. Yes, caffeine dehydrates you. Yes, it messes with absorption. Some medications require food, some require an empty stomach. And very few are meant to be washed down with a venti triple shot latte. There's also the "I'll skip today because I feel fine" crowd. Listen, you feel fine because the meds are working. It's like deciding not to wear your seatbelt because you haven't crashed yet. It makes no sense. Now here's the quirky part. There's something called medication inertia, a phenomenon where people intentionally stop taking prescribed meds due to fear of side effects, frustration, or even just boredom. One woman told me, "I was tired of taking pills every day. I wanted to feel young again." I get it. Meds can be a psychological burden. But stopping them without a plan? That's like throwing away your umbrella mid-thunderstorm. Some doctors now use deprescribing protocols, which is a real thing. It means carefully tapering or simplifying medications for seniors who take too many. But that's not something you do on your own. That's a decision made with your healthcare team, not after reading a blog post or forgetting to refill your prescription. Now, let's talk tools. There are pill organizers that beep, apps that track when you take your meds, even old-school paper charts. I had one patient who used color-coded Legos on his kitchen table. If the blue block was up, he hadn't taken his statin yet. Genius. Whatever works, just make it part of your non-negotiable morning routine. Like brushing your teeth or putting on socks. You wouldn't forget your pants, right? Don't forget your blood pressure meds either. And if you ever feel dizzy, nauseous, or out of it after your meds, talk to someone. Don't just stop taking them. That kind of self-experimentation can backfire hard. Adjusting medication doses should never be a solo sport. That's like playing with electrical wires because you watched a tutorial once. There's also debate in the medical world about chronotherapy, the idea that the timing of your medications can improve their effectiveness. Some studies suggest taking certain meds at night may lower stroke risk better than in the morning. It's fascinating stuff, but again, that's not a DIY experiment. That's a conversation with your doctor. Let me also say this, confusion is normal. Medications are complicated, especially when you have more than 5 bottles rattling around in your cabinet. So ask for help. Your pharmacist, your doctor, your tech-savvy niece, use them. That's what they're there for. Because this isn't just about managing pills, it's about protecting your brain, your independence, and your future. Your meds are like little shields, and skipping them is like walking into battle without armor. One of the best things you can do for yourself, especially as you get older, is to build medication into your identity. I'm someone who takes care of my brain. I'm someone who protects their heart every morning. It sounds cheesy, but it works. So tomorrow morning, when the light creeps through your window and your day begins, remember this: your medications aren't just pills. They're promises to your brain, your body, and your future self. Okay, last stop, and this one might surprise you. You wake up. You've done everything right so far. Sat up slowly, drank your water, ate a low-sodium breakfast, took your meds with food, maybe even stretched a bit. But then, as your phone buzzes or the dog scratches at the door, you do one small thing that could undo all of it. You hold in your pee. Now, I get it. Nobody wants to hear a lecture about bathroom habits. But this is serious. Holding your urine for too long in the morning can silently mess with your cardiovascular system, especially if you're over 60. Here's what happens. When your bladder gets full, your body releases stress hormones, like cortisol and adrenaline, to create urgency. It's nature's alarm clock. But those same hormones, they also raise your blood pressure. So if you're already waking up with a natural spike in BP, and you delay peeing, you're stacking pressure on top of pressure. And for someone with stiff arteries, weak vessel walls, or a history of hypertension, that's a recipe for something you don't want to live through, a stroke or arrhythmia. Let me tell you about Joe. Retired firefighter, super disciplined guy. Every morning he'd check emails, walk the dog, make breakfast, all before using the bathroom because, in his words, I didn't want to rush. One morning, he collapsed in his kitchen. Turned out his blood pressure had spiked so fast and so hard. It caused a hemorrhagic event in his brain. He held it in just a little too long and paid the price. Now, this isn't just one weird case. Studies have shown that a full bladder can stimulate the vagus nerve, affect heart rhythm, and trigger sudden spikes in BP. The strange part? It's not even the bladder's size, it's the delay that causes the surge. Some researchers refer to this as micturition syncope, A sudden fainting spell or near loss of consciousness triggered by urination or the urge to go. Most commonly seen in men over 60. There's still debate in academic circles whether this directly increases stroke risk or is just a harmless episode. But tell that to the guy who hits his head on the bathroom sink. And let me just say, there's a funny side to this too. One older gentleman in my support group once called it the bladder bomb. He joked that if he didn't go within 5 minutes of waking, he felt like he was walking around with a grenade strapped to his kidneys. We laughed, but it stuck with me. He was onto something. Let's break down why this matters. When your bladder fills, it physically presses against nearby blood vessels, especially the inferior vena cava, the vein that returns blood to your heart. That added pressure can disrupt circulation, cause discomfort, and create a systemic stress response. If you've already got cardiovascular risk, that stress matters. And it's not just about the bladder. It's about how many times a morning we ignore what our bodies are telling us. You're checking Instagram before checking your health. You're scrolling before strolling to the bathroom. We prioritize screens, schedules, and distractions over signals that were wired into us for survival. Your body isn't annoying you when it says, "Hey, we need to go." It's protecting you. It's keeping things moving. You know what stagnation does to the body? It creates pressure, inflammation, confusion, like a clogged pipe, except the plumbing is your brain. Here's a tiny morning routine shift I recommend. Make it a rule: bathroom first. Before the coffee, before the texts, before you even check what day it is. Stand up, stretch, go pee. It might be the most underrated stroke prevention tactic on earth. One woman I know added a post-it on her nightstand: wake, breathe, go. That was it. And she swears her blood pressure stabilized just from honoring her body's natural rhythm each morning. And yes, some people might feel silly hearing this. We're really talking about peeing now? Yes, because small habits build into big outcomes. And the older you get, the more each one matters. Let me leave you with this strange but poetic thought. Your bladder and your brain are more connected than you think. One stores waste, the other stores wisdom. Respect both. By listening to your body instead of silencing it, you create a little space between chaos and calm, between risk and resilience, between a rushed morning and one more day you get to enjoy with full control over your mind, your memory, and your independence. And that, my friend, is the whole point. Now, let's slow things down a bit. Because you've made it to the end. And I want to leave you not with urgency, but with stillness. You've spent the past hour exploring how the quietest parts of your morning could hold the loudest consequences. We've talked about blood pressure, hydration, balance, and bladders, about stress hormones, skipped pills, and subtle whispers from the body that so often go unheard. But now, the light has dimmed, the world has quieted, and your mind, I hope, is still gently spinning, filled with possibility instead of panic. Because this isn't about fear. It's about awareness. It's about knowing that every small choice you make tomorrow morning, how you wake, what you eat, what you ignore or respond to, could be the very thing that keeps your future intact. So take a breath. Let your body feel the weight of calm. Let your heart settle into its rhythm. Let your mind begin to soften around the edges like twilight melting into night. You don't have to change everything. You just have to start with one thing, then another, and eventually, those small things become your safety net, your strength, your peace. So close your eyes whenever you're ready. I'll be here when you wake up.